called him and said, you will not report on Bernie Sanders getting into the race in 2015.
Maybe he was fired summarily.
And then he was fired after they manipulated where his show was going to be.
The CNN poll does not include data for specific demographics for Sanders. If anybody doubts that only 50-year-olds plus were tagged for this poll, the information is out there. They may try and retract this headline. You know why? Because the establishment deep state said, hey, you can't come out and say that the mainstream media is manipulating the polls.
Yeah.
Well, Southpaws right here in beautiful downtown Grand Rapids, we are stating it clear and succinctly.
Yeah.
They are manipulating the polls. They've done it before. Why would they change now?
Leopards don't change their spots. Tigers don't change their stripes. A poisonous snake does not come out and be non-poisonous. Sorry, folks. There's just simple truths in life. Let me read a little bit of this here. Again, this is Grit Post. Carl Gibson, no relation. Older respondents were overrepresented and younger voters were underrepresented in a recent CNN SSRS poll gauging support among the 2020 Democratic field of presidential candidates. Yeah, didn't they list as NA, not applicable, not available?
Right.
Gee, wonder why. There was another poll recently, and I forget what poll it was, and I done a little digging into it. Of the respondents, there was a total of 799, which is a small sample. 559 of them were contacted by landline phone. 240 of them were contacted online. Mm-hmm. Not a single cell phone. Not a one. Sorry,
was that
folks.
Monmouth College?
That was the Monmouth University. Folks, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but most people 50 years of age or younger don't have landline phones. They have cell phones.
Yeah, they can fudge the figures.
Yeah.
Fudge the figures to their purpose. Yeah. I remember back in 2016 when I called you on the phone from Philadelphia. I was totally physically exhausted. The temperature was 100 degrees down there. I could barely talk on the phone. But I think you mentioned to me, Darren, or somebody mentioned to me there in Philadelphia that the DNC had apologized to Bernie Sanders over the leaked emails. So I real quickly got the email apology, and all it did was apologize for calling Bernie names. When the fact is, the WikiLeaks, now that's just an omission. I'm trying to show you how they edit and give you the facts they want you to know and not give you the facts you need to know. The facts you needed to know were that the WikiLeaks emails revealed a deeper problem than just some name throwing at Bernie. The deeper problem was there was expressed manipulation of the media coming out of those WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
Empirical, undebated. There was no apology for that. So now the American public in July 2016, they think, oh, well, the DNC, all they did was it had a couple of upset workers use some swear words against Bernie. No, that wasn't the problem. The problem was using the media, which we're pointing out right now. It continues. It happened back then in July 2016. It's happening today in 2019.
Yep, I've got this right here. MSNBC just completely misreported the findings of the most recent Monmouth University poll. Because they show the graphic. The graphic is the contenders. Monmouth University support among non-white voters. They have Joe Biden at 28%, Bernie Sanders at 27%, Pete Buttigieg at 2%. Here's what they didn't post. Here's the raw numbers from Monmouth University. Democrat voters, number 14. I know the 2020 election is far away, but who would you support for the Democratic nomination for the president if the candidates were the following? And they read the names: Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand. They got it broke down by race. Under race, it says Hispanic, Black, Asian, and other. The true raw numbers, Bernie Sanders is at 27%, but Biden is only at 25%, and it's published right here.
Yeah, here's the one that I want you to
There's
talk
the
about.
manipulation, folks.
Nobody wants to talk about the Daily Coast poll that had more than 700, what'd you say, 798 people polled?
I think it was something like that.
Well, the Daily Coast went to 51,000 Democrats of all ages.
Yep.
And clearly had the advantage to Bernie. 34% for Bernie. Warren was second place, not Biden, at 20. Biden was way down at third place. Buttigieg at 9%. Now, here's the deal. This poll was broader scope. Its parameters were stated clearly. Its dynamics were stated. And it shows you a completely different scenario than what the mainstream media wants you to know. Mm-hmm. We have a huge dichotomy.
And we're not saying the Daily Post is accurate either, because guess who runs them? Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a bunch of corporate Dems.
But when the polls are from this side over to that side, you throw them all the hell out. Mm-hmm. We sat here in Michigan and heard about how Hillary was ahead by, 12 points hours before the election.
Yeah.
And that poll evidently didn't mean a damn thing.
No, it didn't. And yet people still blame, the Bernie people, they didn't vote for Hillary, and that's why she lost Michigan. No, she lost Michigan because, one, she didn't campaign here. Two, she didn't give a damn about Sanders supporters or independent voters or anybody else for that matter. Let me add that there were nearly 100,000 Michiganders who skipped the presidential election in 2016. They voted down ticket. They didn't vote in the presidential election. That's unprecedented. 1.75 million voters in 2016 showed up to the polls, voted down ticket, didn't vote for president in 33 states and the District of Columbia, period, end of story.
See, the number that Darren is giving you, these hundreds of thousands of people, that's not arguable. That's not an exit poll. Those are recorded and sealed numbers from the election. 100,000 here and more than that down in Florida.
Yeah.
Two key states.
140,000 Florida.
Those things, you don't have to wonder about how voracious the poll is when you know for a fact that 100,000 people voted under ticket, voted lower part of the ticket, and left the top blank. You don't have to wonder when Bernie Sanders blasts Biden's voting record over the vote for the Iraq War. You don't have to wonder. That's recorded. It's got every single Democrat, every single vote against the Iraq War. What was there, 3 against it? We said years ago, I said in this show, that's the guy you need to run for president. Whoever it was, I don't care who it is. If it was a janitor in the back of the Congress that voted against the Iraq War, that's who a progressive is. And Bernie came out. He didn't need any poll numbers. He went right to the heart of the issue, and he excoriated Biden for his vote against the Iraq War. That's music to my ears.
I want to get to a couple of updates on stories that we have covered in the past. I want to get to this. This is from CNN from Wednesday. This is by Emanuela Grinberg. We talked about this when it happened back in 2017, I believe. This is out of Minneapolis. Former police officer Mohammed Noor was found guilty Tuesday of third-degree murder and manslaughter for fatally shooting Justine Ruzizik while responding to her 911 call. The jury of 10 men and 2 women acquitted Noor on an additional count of second-degree murder in the killing. Noor, a 33-year-old Somalian American, is believed to be the first police officer to be convicted of murder in Minnesota in recent memory. He faces up to 12 and a half years in prison for third-degree murder and 4 years for second-degree manslaughter. He'll be sentenced on June 7th. Noor's lawyer said a perfect storm of events led him to open fire on Ruzick the night of July 15, 2017. She had called 911 to report a possible assault in progress in an alley behind her Minneapolis home. The cops showed up. She starts running toward the police car to tell him, hey, you need to get back here. She's in a pink shirt or whatever, and the cop just sees somebody approaching the car. He just and shoots her dead.
Yeah, that's one that got sentenced.
Yep, this is why we bash the cops on this show. Lack of training, lack of common sense. There's a story that came out at Wood Television on Thursday. There's a Kent County man that's suing the sheriff's department here locally for $10 million because the cops rolled up and arrested him for selling drugs. They thought he was reaching into his waistband, and the cops shot him. The investigation said the only thing he could have ever reached for in his waistband was a set of car keys. Yet they didn't prosecute the cop for shooting him. This guy has permanent damage, permanent physical damage.
On any single day, you can go find a story like this
Yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah.
Any place in the country.
This isn't the Wild West. The Wild West wasn't the Wild West.
No, you had to leave your gun at the bar or behind the bar when you walked in.
It's insane. It's insanity. And then I've got one more update that I want to get to. This is by Ashraf Khalil at the Associated Press. In a quivering voice, Maria Butina begged for leniency Friday as she awaited sentencing on charges of being a secret agent for Russia. She cast herself as an innocent caught up in a massive geopolitical power game. But a federal judge sentenced her to 18 months in prison, followed by deportation. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chuktan sided with prosecutors who said the 30-year-old Russian deliberately obscured her true purposes while developing backdoor contacts inside the American conservative movement to advance the interests of Russia. The sentence can be appealed, and Butina will get credit for her time in jail since her high-profile arrest in July of 2018. The case garnered intense media coverage amid speculation over the extent of Russian interference in American politics. Butina admitted last year to covertly gathering intelligence on the National Rifle Association and other groups at the direction of a former Russian lawmaker. Her guilty plea to a single charge of conspiracy to act as an unregistered foreign agent came as part of a deal with prosecutors. Yeah, we reported on that, and it comes out at the same time that there have been calls for Wayne LaPierre to step down as the man in charge, basically, of the National Rifle Association. I believe he's their executive director.
Having trouble getting the cash out of his dead hands, right?
Yeah, and then Oliver North, who was appointed the president of the National Rifle Association, told the group last weekend, I'm not going to run again. I'm not running for that office again.
Wow. What a mess.
Yeah.
But I look out at the flowers outside the window here and the blooming flowers, and I realize that May is National Masturbation Month, so it's not all bad. We got that going for us, folks.
Take matters into your own hands.
I got to hand it to you there.
No, you don't. Hands off. You're not Donald Trump. That's going to wrap things up for this episode. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I am Jack Prince.
For our announcer, Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.